Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So, we've got guys an update on a pretty significant severe weather event that we've got taking place here across portions of the northeastern United States. We've also got ourselves a little event going on across sections of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio today. I'm joined by Davis's weather
Hello.
and Roman, the weather guy.
I'm not here.
All right. But as you can see on radar, we have a lot of activity that's starting to pick up there across portions of the Northeast. We're going to be breaking down what's going on like ahead of us tonight. As we get into tonight, we're going to talk about if there's a tornado threat with any of these storms. We're going to talk about who needs to be prepared and who needs to be weather aware today. But just starting out, as you can see once again, we have a lot of activity starting to pick up with the surface low moving its way up through Canada, but we've got a lot of storms up into the northern tier of the country. You've got storms up here into the interior sections of the Northeast, especially up there near the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. You can see the hills and valleys of western Pennsylvania getting in on some of the storms. A lot of storms out there across central Ohio today, and then this little pocket of potentially damaging wind gusts here riding through sections of east central Illinois. Davis, I know you are probably going to get in on some of those storms a little bit later tonight, but it should be interesting. We'll see what happens with that. And then, as you can see, we have another pretty good cluster of tropical moisture and activity that's starting to bring some rain and some thunderstorms out there into the southeast. A lot of convection going on across portions of the Carolinas into Georgia and just everywhere else. There is a lot of rain and some thunderstorms out there, so just be aware of a possible flooding threat with that. But we're gonna go ahead and take a look at your current alerts. All right, and starting out, you can see we do have a flood watch that's currently up for sections of North Carolina. That's pretty much central North Carolina down through central South Carolina and into extreme sections of eastern Georgia there in that green shade. All right, there is another flood watch going out for sections of the coastal region of Texas, pretty similar to the area that was hit by a Hurricane Beryl. So I apologize if efforts are still being made to help clean up any damage, but there is still some tropical rainfall that's coming in. Obviously, not related to Beryl at all because Beryl's gone, but just normal tropical rainfall that's moving through. All right, and then you can see also into sections of eastern Colorado, we have a um, air quality alert. All right, and you can see that that's in the gray shade. We've also got another one going up for northeastern Texas into the DFW metro area. And then we have another one as well out here into sections around the St. Louis metro area as well. So a lot of areas seeing some pretty unhealthy air quality. I will say that is due to wildfires that have been burning out here across sections of the western United States, especially up here in Oregon and Washington, where you have more of those air quality alerts. All right, that's because we have so much wildfire smoke that just the air is unhealthy. So please be aware that there is, a threat for having some very unhealthy air quality out there. All right, and then you can see all across the western United States, we're seeing a lot of heat advisories, watches, and warnings, especially out there into Montana, where if you look, the eastern portion of the state is currently under that excessive heat warning. If you're in the excessive heat warning, this goes for everybody. That's if you're in the purple shade here. So I'll circle the area. But if you're under, a risk that looks, or I guess a shade that looks like this, any shaded color that looks like that, that means you're currently under an excessive heat warning. So some really, really intense heat that's kind of just blazing down on this region. But that sparked a lot of wildfires because we've been dealing with such dry conditions, and so we have a lot of fire weather watches out there, special weather statements just for those areas that are experiencing high fire danger. All right, but you can see we have a lot of areas that are also under heat advisories because the heat's not as intense, but it's still pretty intense enough to warrant a heat advisory. That's in the orange shade, and then a little bit more areas that are currently under flash flood watches or just regular flood watches in the green shade there. All right, those are for the areas that are still getting some pretty hot conditions that are probably getting some thunderstorms out there, but not seeing wildfires at the moment. I do think wildfire risks are definitely going to go up for those areas that are not seeing them at the moment. So just be aware that summer's not over and we still have potential wildfires that are still coming. But Davis, we'll start with you. What are you just thinking? What are your thoughts on this map so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to start to see some of those orange boxes, the severe thunderstorm warnings, pop up in portions of Arizona, maybe even New Mexico. We kind of got another one of these monsoonal type events here coming in, so we'll watch out for that. Obviously, this is not normal heat out here, especially in the Northwest, right? The Southwest gets stuff like this, every summer almost, but the Northwest, this is extremely above average. We've had several days so far that have been record breaking for areas. So, yeah, just continue to look out for that. Make sure you're staying hydrated and everything.
Yeah, definitely well said. I mean, monsoon moisture, it's a big thing that we got to talk about, that we got to worry about. And we are expecting a watch to come in into sections of Arizona in just a moment. So, just after recording of this video. So, just, imagine that there is a severe watch somewhere in there or whatever. But we'll go to you, Roman. What are your thoughts on this map?
I agree with Davis. I do think we're gonna have a pretty decent severe weather outbreak ongoing here in Arizona here within just maybe a couple hours or so. Also up there, in the Northeast today, in New York and in Pennsylvania, we have an ongoing severe weather outbreak with those big storms causing some damaging wind gusts out there, maybe some small hail up to maybe quarter size or more. Um, but yeah, if you're in the Northwest, I mean, you're gonna be cooking. I mean, cooking more averagely than usual. So just please, be aware of that. If you, don't have to go outside, don't. But if you absolutely do need to go, but just take some water, stay hydrated, and just, especially take care of your dogs. If you have any babies, just take care of them as well. If you plan to take them outside as well.
Well said. All right, so we're gonna go over here to the SBC outlook. All right, and as you can see, we have a dual slight risk. We'll start up here in the northeast where we have a slight risk. This level 2 to 5 risk in the yellow shade, going out for portions of upstate New York here. Also going down through extreme northern Pennsylvania. All right, this does include areas just to the east of Cleveland, but that's level 2 to 5 risk. All right, as of right now, it's not driven by a tornado threat. Now, personally, I would increase this to a 2% risk, but this is what the SBC has. They have a less than 2% risk in all areas. I do think that, after we, see model guidance to back us up, I do think, though, that there is a little bit of a slightly elevated threat for tornadoes. That's some of these storms have already been rotating out there in upstate New York. All right, but there is a possible tornado threat according to me. The SBC doesn't have it. It doesn't have it at a 2% risk. Has a less than 2% risk in all areas. All right. Same thing for areas of Arizona. So we're not expecting a tornado threat out there, and I can agree with them that there won't be that there will not be a tornado threat out there in Arizona. So you don't need to worry about that. But you look at the wind threat for the Northeast, we do have a 15% chance out there in the yellow shade. All right, that's going out for areas near Rochester, Buffalo, west of Albany. All right, north of Binghamton, and then areas to the east of Cleveland as well. All right, so definitely a pretty elevated damage wind gust threat with any of those cells or any of those storms that pop up and then begin to move their way to the east. I definitely think that's going to be probably the main hazard for today. All right, because we're definitely going to see a lot of damage wind gust reports out of this area. But we do have another 15% that's going down for areas of southern Arizona with our monsoonal related storms. All right, that's driven by the slight risk of a 15% chance, including Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona. All right, and then surrounding areas of that near Flagstaff, and then areas up towards like Albuquerque, you have a 5% risk that's in the brown shade. And then you have another, 5% risk that's going out for the surrounding areas of the 15% in upstate New York. That does include areas of central Illinois. All right, that's for the band of storms that's moving through central Illinois as we speak. Going back to the radar, you could see that we do have some pretty nasty storms moving through. I do expect, a gust front to come through this region, later today, and I do think we're going to get some pretty strong to damaging winds with that localized damaging wind gust. But even storm related wind gusts, obviously, that's going to be an issue. That's why we have the 5% risk there. And then, I mean, this is all for the marginal risk, but you can see it does also extend down into North Carolina, Delmarva region, but mainly areas of the Mid Atlantic, just the coastal regions there with that 5% risk. I doubt that we're going to see any severe storms as far east as like DC and Baltimore. I mean, I guess it's possible, but if you're on the immediate coastline, there's a possible threat, but it's definitely not nearly as high as what we're talking about out there in Arizona and upstate New York, right? Um, and then you can see also that, like I said, we have the slight risk out there in Arizona. And then we do have a marginal risk. This does include areas of western Montana. This goes through central and southern sections of Idaho there. And then you can also see you can sections of Oregon there that are also getting some of that severe weather in the marginal risk. That's a level 1 out of 5 risk in the green shade. So we're gonna go over the day two outlook. All right, day two outlook, nothing too crazy. Pretty much the same exact area out there for sections of southern Arizona. So nothing too crazy with that. A little bit of a Delmarva threat, just level 1 out of 5 risk. We really aren't expecting anything too crazy out there. And then another marginal risk just for sections of like central Montana. So, Davis, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on today's event just based on the SBC?
Yeah, I mean, I like how we have a double slight risk. I think the threat in the Northwest overall is probably not going to pack a punch with severe storms. I'm kind of surprised they added the marginal risk there, but it's whatever. And again, I mean the timing for everybody on the marginal risk and the slight risk, kind of along the East Coast back into the Ohio Valley, it's going to be different for everybody because there's going to be like 4 different bands of storms that develop. Everybody's not going to get the same one, so just look out. Make sure you know what the forecast is for your area. But yeah.
All right, we'll go over to Roman.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I agree. I mean, these marginal risks here for tomorrow are going to cause a problem in a lot of these areas out here in Arizona, Montana, in Idaho, as well as near Washington and Baltimore. So you just have to be aware of any potential changes in the future, and just stay weather aware. I mean, I don't think this will be an immediate threat, but just watch out for potential weather updates because this could be a pretty big event out here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely get a few strong to severe storms, but nothing too crazy out there for areas of Montana and Delmarva, but still a possible threat with for those areas. So we're gonna go over to the NAM 3 cam model here for the Northeast. We're gonna look at model guidance here. We're gonna take a look at what these storms are gonna be looking like just based off of the NAM and what we can just say after looking at model guidance. All right, so starting out, this was around. Well, take this out to 10 a.m. this morning. All right, you can see we already did have some convection starting to pop off just south of the Finger Lakes region. There's that low pressure just to the north of where all this, where all this activity is happening up here into Canada. That's 1,012 millibar low, so nothing too crazy. But these surface lows, they can really produce a lot of severe storms, and that's what we're seeing today. So, we're gonna see, what other factors are, being put into today's event. All right, because obviously, just because we have the surface low does not mean that we get severe weather automatically. We have to take a look at other stuff like CAPE, which we will take a look at. But we go into the afternoon hours where we get that daytime heat. We've been talking about some pretty hot conditions out there in the Northeast because it's summer. But we get to 3 p.m. and you see we have a lot of convection starting to boom across sections of well upstate New York, north of the Finger Lakes region. This little band of showers and thunderstorms starting to pop off out there into sections of far northwestern Pennsylvania, into extreme northeastern Ohio. You could see just well into upstate New York. This whole area, this general area, is experiencing some pretty strong storms. And then we take this out to about 4 p.m., which is the time of recording this video, and that's where we start to see a lot more storms start to fire across the region. These storms that previously formed by like around 1 to 2 p.m., they become severe. And that's what we're talking about now. If you look at, we'll go over to Radar Omega real quick, and you can see we have a few severe warnings just out there in northwestern Pennsylvania, south of Erie, Pennsylvania. All right, we have this little cluster of storms. That's exactly what the NAM is showing. So the NAM is pretty on point with this run, so that's pretty good to see. But south of Watertown, we have a storm. that's severe warned. Ithaca, New York, you have a storm that's warned. So, just to get the idea of it, we have a lot of scattered strong to severe storms, but especially the ones that formed earlier today. Those are going to continue to increase you know, in severity, and I do think that we're going to see an increased threat from those storms that formed earlier today. But just looking at the NAM, you can see it's a whole mess of storms and different lines and different batches of storms. Just like Davis said, we're seeing a lot of different severe events, but for the same kind of general area, if that makes sense. So we take this out into the evening and then the overnight hours of tonight, and you can see this kind of the winner of the region is what I would like to call it. This whole region has some thunderstorm juice, some Cape, but the line of storms that's going to take all the Cape and that it's going to end up becoming the winner, I guess if you want to put it that way. It's going to be that line that started out here in New Ohio and upstate New York, and that's because it starts out early enough that it can take up enough Cape that it's going to build enough strength that I do think it's going to make its way down to areas near the coastline. You can see all the other events, they're kind of left out as some showers and thunderstorms, maybe, one special weather statement, strong to severe storm out there in North Carolina. But really, this comes out as the clear winner. This line that's moving through the Finger Lakes region down into central Pennsylvania. All right, this is the line of storms that's going to be the one that's going to have at least the minimal threat of producing some severe damage and wind gusts. But I really do think that after 6:30, after 7, that we're really going to see that threat for severe weather die down pretty considerably. But we still see this line move its way into southern New York, and then it really just fizzles out as we get into about midnight here. We do see some strong to severe storms just off the Virginia coastline. So water spouts are possible there if we get any, slightly rotating storms, which I don't think it's going to be a huge hazard, but it's definitely possible. But really, after midnight, all the activity just fizzles out because we don't have that afternoon and daytime heating. But definitely this line of storms, this band of storms moving through central New York State into central Pennsylvania, I would watch out for that. I think that this is going to be making its way later into the day as it moves to the east, and I do think it's still going to produce some pretty intense wind gusts. But another thing to mention is that earlier on, like in the hours that at recording this video, so about 4 o'clock, 4:30, all right, around the time of recording this video, we've been talking about some pretty intense cells up in north central New York. All right, and I do think that we're going to have once again a possible tornado threat with those storms, as we have seen rotating supercells, earlier today. So I think that there is a slightly elevated tornado threat, and we could actually definitely take a look at some soundings off of that. But there is definitely a potential tornado threat out there into well upstate New York. But you know, once again, after 6:30, 7 p.m., I think a lot of this activity will start to die down pretty considerably. So if you're, the closer you're out of the coastline, the farther away from the storms you'll be, is what I would say. But still some spotty showers and thunderstorms, maybe a thunderstorm cell or two out there in the Delmarva region, just all across the mid-Atlantic in general. But nothing too crazy with this event, just definitely some possible strong and severe storms are expected. So, Davis, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this run of the NAM?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Again, it's going to be different areas, get different bands of storms with different timings and different threats. Again, I think for the most part, it's going to be a big-time damaging wind event. Can't rule out an isolated tornado, though. NATOcast, the AI forecasting tool, if anybody watching is familiar with it, has thrown a tornado risk out there. The SPC hasn't, so it's debatable, but I think that there is a very slim tornado threat. And again, if we do get a tornado, I think it would be somewhere in either northern or central New York. But yeah, I mean, again, over the next several hours here, we'll just have to watch pretty much all across the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast for more strong to severe storms.
Yeah, for sure. Roman, what about you?
I agree. So when I looked at the NAM, model there, I saw a bunch of storms popping up there in central New York, and I do agree with Davis that threat's going to be mainly damaging winds, but tornadoes, you can't rule them out. I would say maybe a couple, or maybe just one brief today in New York, but we can't really rule out that threat. So that's what I just had to say.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go over to the College of DuPage. This is their site where we can actually take soundings, and it'll give us, all the photographs and stuff. And we're just gonna be looking at if any of these if any of these cells off of the NAM high res model, if any of these cells appear to have rotation off of them, just what the NAM is showing here. So we'll take a sounding from upstate New York. This cell that the NAM was showing seems to be away from the main line of storms. So once this loads, we'll be able to take a look at sounding. Now this isn't going to be too impressive. This might even not say a tornado threat at all, but we're just going to take, one or two soundings just to see if we do have any possible threat of tornadoes from any cell that the NAM has been showing. And, we can do this with some pretty, good confidence that it's, pretty accurate, fairly accurate data because the NAM has been pretty on point. So here we go. Our sounding has loaded. All right, and you can see this photograph does have some pretty good shear, pretty good rotation down into the low levels of the atmosphere here, down near the ground level. We have some rotation there. All right. So I mean that's not a bad sounding for tornadoes. You can see potential hazard type. It's a weak tornado. Our slinky, it's 68 degrees, which is actually pretty good if you're looking for shear and for just another factor that goes into looking for rotation. So our slinky, our storm slinky, our, our storm slinky isn't looking too bad, but definitely once again not a a crazy sounding, not a crazy photograph, but just to show you guys that there is definitely a somewhat of a tornado threat, very slim, but there is a tornado threat there. It's not like it's non-existent. So I just want to make sure you guys are not caught off guard. But you can see our wind barbs. They change direction pretty good as we get into the atmosphere. So that does also show some wind shear. And then obviously that plays into possible rotation with any storm. And then you have 70-degree dew points, which are pretty high. So that's just with the cape, which we're going to look at in just a moment. The dew points and the cape and then the temperatures put together, I mean, it really comes together to build a pretty strong thermodynamic atmosphere and just pretty intense, pretty loaded atmosphere. So these storms have a lot of energy to go, a lot of energy to suck up, but I definitely do think that there is at least a very small tornado threat. So I think we're just going to take a look at one sounding. I think we should just get this out of the way. So we're going to go over quickly to the NAM 3 kilometer model. We're going to take a look at the Cape. But before we do that, Davis, I don't want to catch you off guard here because I know we switched over. But what are your thoughts on just that sounding that we just looked at? After looking at that, do you think that there is still definitely a fair chance that we could get one or two tornadoes?
Yeah, again, I mean, we do have discrete cells, some semi-discrete cells anyway, and again, there's a decent amount of rotation there, it looks like, with that photograph. And again, we've got a decent amount of cape, we've got some shear, so we definitely can't rule out an isolated brief tornado or two over the next couple of hours is when it would happen. I think as we go later into the nighttime hours, though, that threat should plummet.
Yeah, for sure. Roman, what are your thoughts on the photograph we looked at and just the sounding?
I looked at it and I was like, yeah, there is a slim tornado threat, and with those discrete cells, it's going to become even more probable for maybe a one or tornado or two. But I think that it's a pretty slim chance. And by nighttime hours, I don't think we're going to have any really damaging storms like that, and there won't be really a tornado threat. But yeah, mainly a damaging wind threat with those storms. But yeah, I can't rule out a tornado or two.
Yeah. So we look at the NAM 3K model here for your cape. All right, this is just our convective potential. I cannot speak. Um, but I mean, this is basically just your thunderstorm juice that's in the atmosphere for these storms ahead of them. All right, so this is the 12Z run of the NAMPS. This is our afternoon run. And you can see we have cape levels that have been rising up into the 2000s, so that's considered pretty high, definitely high enough to spark some severe weather. And you can see that pretty much anybody in this peach or this orange color, I mean, you can expect some big time severe storms out here. I mean, the potential for big time severe storms is what I meant to say, but there is definitely the threat for severe weather for anybody. I would say that's above 2,000 joules per kilograms, just because that there is a lot of moisture and a lot of energy for these thunderstorms to kind of gain strength. But I definitely shouldn't have said, expect severe storms in your area. Expect that there is a possibility of severe storms. It's just not a high chance. All right. But we take this out farther in the afternoon. All right. And you can see we get into the evening hours of about 5, 6, 7 p.m. And you can see we start to really see these cave levels fizzle out. But if you're down here near the Carolinas, a little bit higher, a little bit higher cape levels are definitely possible down there. So we may see more long tracking thunderstorm cells down in North Carolina. So I'd watch out this evening. North Carolina, definitely a possible threat. But I mean, for areas of upstate New York and the Northeast, I would really not worry too much. Once again, after 5, 6 p.m. for any severe threat, because I really do think that because of our dying cape levels, I do think that we're really going to see a decrease in that severe threat. But just to show you guys that we do have some pretty decent cape levels ahead of these storms, so definitely potential for a few more of these storms to go severe, and maybe a tornado or two are definitely possible. So we're gonna go over now to the Atlantic. This is our National Hurricane Center currents map here. You can see we have no tropical cyclone activity expected during the next 7 days. And if you've, looked at this map pretty frequently, you probably have noticed that we have not seen any yellow X, orange X, or red X in a while. And you're right, because we have not seen any tropical activity since Beryl and since Chris. I don't know if you guys remember Chris. Chris was one of those baby storms that popped up just off the coast of Mexico and kind of, floated its way through as Beryl was doing its damage out in the Caribbean. Well, we're up to sea, and we went, a very long time without seeing any tropical activity, and we're still in that time frame. So this is the part of the update that's going to explain why we're not seeing anything and potentially when we're going to get back to things. So we're going to take a look here at this is your current, basically your current satellite loop, but for areas that are currently experiencing dry air and moisture. So this map basically just shows you once again where there's dry air and where there's moisture. So taking a look, this is the Atlantic that you're looking at right now, and you can see there's a big plume of dry air, which is actually dust that's come off the coast of Africa. And this is just making its way all throughout the Atlantic, the tropical Atlantic, making its way through the MDR. But look how massive this area of dust is. I mean, you're seeing really, really deep colors of orange, of yellow there. All right, that's some really, really dry conditions, really dry air out there. All right, and you can see it's just kind of moving its way off to the east. But you look behind it, and we have a really big exploding tropical wave that's about to come off Africa. I don't know if you guys can see that because it's the map is made so that it looks like it's Earth, like the globe here, so it's kind of rounded. But I don't know if you can see, but we have some big time convection that's popping off out there just on the coast there of Africa. Once this makes its way offshore, notice how, just if you can see, there is no dust behind it whatsoever. So as long as this dust clears out, I really do think that we're gonna have another high chance of development as long as we have limited shear and as long as this dust kind of wanders its way out into the North Atlantic. I think that the MDR is going to open up, and it's going to take a while because this dust is pretty slow moving, as you can see. But once the MDR opens up, I really do think that we're going to have a pretty high potential for a few name storms potentially, and that time frame seems to be pretty late into August. So obviously, I can't say anything for pointing out a tropical wave that I think is going to produce, because we have all this dust in the way. And all I can say is that after this big tropical wave that's moving off the coast of Africa, it doesn't seem that we have much dust that's going to come off Africa after that. So we may see a window of potential, window of time for potential tropical development. We're just gonna have to see what happens. But aside from this, we take a look at the GFS for the last part of the update, and we'll start with you, Davis. Once again, didn't mean to catch you off guard if I did, but what are your thoughts on just the loop that we looked at? Just take a look at the dry air and the warm air, or sorry, the moist air.
Yeah, I mean, that dust is one of the only things stopping us from getting tropical systems right now, I think. We do have a slightly below average spot of temperatures there in kind of the eastern section of the MDR right off the coast of Africa, but it really is not enough to make a huge difference. So it's pretty apparent at this point that the only thing that's stopping us is that dust. So we want that dust to stay there, but as soon as that dust clears out, I think that we're going to start seeing some big time systems again. Again, the question is how long is that dust going to stay there, and however long it stays there determines kind of how active our hurricane season is for really the next couple of months, even.
For sure. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly just what's going on right now. But Roman, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that dry air, all that dust is going to cut off tropical cyclone development right now. But yeah, as soon as that dust does clear up, I do think we'll see maybe a couple or a few named storms potentially. But yeah, that is what I saw from those models there.
From the satellite. But yeah, I mean, take a look at your sea surface temperature anomalies. You can see that we do have a below spot, like Davis mentioned, just off the coast of Africa. All right, that is mainly because we haven't been, we've been seeing a lot of dust, and I guess really the dust doesn't matter, but we do have some below average temperatures just off the coast of Africa. Not really going to mess around with the Atlantic's, crazy warm waters. I mean, look at the North Atlantic here. We're talking about SST is well above 2 degrees above average, which is just ridiculous. So crazy warm sea surface temperatures out there. But for the last part of the update, we will take a look here at the GFS once I can get this going. We're going to look at the 12Z GFS for the North Atlantic just to look at if we have any tropical waves that makes their way all the way into the Caribbean or whatever. And so starting out here, you can see this is the plume of moisture that I was talking about on satellite that's moving its way off the coast of Africa. So we'll see how far this makes it. It gets its way offshore, and it does pop off 1,014 millibar low. Now that is a very high low pressure, so it's a very weak storm, but it's still kind of chugging out there, and it just fizzles out because we have this high pressure here. That's located in the north central Atlantic. All right, that's what we get every year. We get a high pressure that kind of blocks most storms depending on where it's located, but it blocks most storms from entering this region of the Atlantic. So it pushes storms in this direction, and that's why we saw Beryl. And if we get another storm that makes its way into the Caribbean, that's why it's going to move into this direction. But we see where this tropical wave goes. We'll see if it makes its way into the Caribbean, and it really just it doesn't do that. They fizzle out, and that probably is because of wind shear. And in a future update, we'll look at wind shear and we'll take a look if there's any wind shear that's helping prevent these storms from forming. But they interact with this dust, and this dust is just so intense and so uh I don't know how to say it, but thick. I guess the dust is just so dense. I guess that these storms really just have trouble getting their act together, and so it's really just not a favorable time at the moment for development. But once again, once that dust clears out, I really do think that we could see a window of development definitely open up potentially out there in the Atlantic. And then another thing to look at is that we do actually get a little low that pops off just off the coast of the Northeast, and it does form 1,011 millibar low. This doesn't go sub 1,010 millibars, so a very weak low once again. But this could definitely be a homebrew system. This could actually, this could really go as low as a tropical depression. It could strengthen as much as a tropical depression. Obviously, nothing crazy with that. This is 96 hours out, so it's still a little time for this to change. But some of them mentioned there, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty much it. So thank you all for coming to watch. That's all I got for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.